Sitting here with BK, Little Giants. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, thanks to yourself.
I'm good, thanks. Cape Town, I mean, the last time I saw you, you were in Johannesburg, and it's a fresh start for you. You've had, I believe, a fight show already under your belt. How are things developing for you here in Cape Town?
Oh no, it actually worked out perfect for me. I've always wanted to move to Cape Town, and it's always been one of my dreams. But also another thing is that my parents live here, so it actually worked out perfect for me to move down to Cape Town.
Yeah, because I mean, I can't just say. I mean, arguably the best. I mean, you would probably say the best gym in Africa is Fight Fit Militia, Richard Kwan. So people might be confused as to why you would. I don't know if you left or are you still working with them? What's the story with that?
Oh yeah, so I moved to Cape Town basically during the COVID. The COVID crisis was quite difficult for most fighters and basically for everyone else. The best thing for me to do was to move back to Cape Town to just settle things down. And I actually had a chat with my coach, Richie Kwan, and now my new coach, Matt, and spoke to both of them about me having a possibility to move to Cape Town. They were both quite happy with that because I was still able to work with both of them, and I actually had a smaller training partner which was perfect. So Wade Cosby, he's one of the flyweight fighters, one of the best flyweight fighters in South Africa, and I was basically able to train with them and everything and still work with Coach Kwan. So it's actually all working out for me to live in Cape Town and to actually fight under Coach Kwan and under Matt Fit at the same time.
Because we usually see what we usually see is like people going the other way. So they go from Cape Town, for example, KwaZulu-Natal, wherever it is, from coastal to basically to Johannesburg to either join up with one of the top clubs there. So for you, do you still aim to go back up at some stage, or are you primarily based here now?
I am actually based here, but I'll do some of my training camps back in Joburg, where I can fly up, train with Rich that side. Or vice versa, where Rich comes down actually and do a training camp with me here. But most of the time we do it through cell phone and everything. So we still, have that communication together. But I'll definitely like to go to Joburg every now and then to do my camps there.
All right, I want to go back to the beginning for you because it's more of like an introductory interview for the audience that will be watching. Maybe some of them obviously know you already because you're quite a big name. But it started at I want to start at professional. It started at the EFC for you, where you built up through the ranks. Can you talk to us about the initial stages of coming into EFC Africa?
Oh yes, so I started as an amateur, and my goal was basically to try to become the best flyweight in the world. And I started with just wrestling, so I started with Richie Kwan. Very, very intelligent coach. I think for me, he's one of the best coaches in the world. And he literally was able to find a style that works for me. And weird enough, with every single fighter at Coach Kwan, they're all different type of fighters, and he's able to work with all the styles. And he was able to develop a very good style that worked out for me. And since then, as an amateur, he said he's gonna make me a world champion one day, and I believe I'm on my way to becoming a world champion very soon. But I started as an amateur fighter, and I was 6-0 unbeaten, and I moved into EFC. And to be honest, in EFC I've been fighting guys that were quite big. I fight at bantamweight and I fight at farweight, but the guys were still quite big for me. But somehow we were able to pull off wins and put off performance of the night and stuff like that. And that's all credit to my coach Richard Kwan to be able to find a style, because I believe if I had to go to other coaches, it was going to be very difficult for them to find a style for me, because I'm a very difficult fighter to work with, not as in discipline wise, but I'll say size wise and everything. You wouldn't know what to do with me. But Richie Kwan was able to mold the fighter I am today. And from EFC I was unbeaten. I was 5-0 from then, and then I moved to Pancrase in Japan, and I also won my fight there. From Japan I moved to one championship, and from one championship I'm 2-0 there. And basically 8-0 in total as a pro undefeated fighter.
Well, let's talk about right now, because you've given us the history, and it's like one championship it's the biggest promotion for your weight division. Like, in terms of winning that belt will mean that you will be the number one in the world within your weight division, and you'll have to earn it the hard way. You said you called up the champion, so you're still waiting, but you're hoping for that fight next. Is that the case?
Oh yes, that's the case. So I've always wanted to be the best fighter in the world, test myself against the best fighters in the world. And one championship for my weight category, it's one of the toughest divisions in the world. And the best thing to do is to jump in head first. I fought two of the top fighters in the world, and now I was able to get the opportunity to actually call out the champion. So hopefully soon I get that fight and become the world champion that I've always wanted to become.
That last fight you had was an explosion. I think the internet went a bit crazy. I mean, you knocked the guy out so quick. And what was your mindset going into that fight? Was it to do something like that, or did it just happen?
To be honest, actually going into that fight, our game plan was to obviously work on my stand-up and use my wrestling and the stand-up that I've been working on to be able to wrestle and to play around with the guy. But my thing was to be able to go 3 rounds without getting tired. And it happened to become a 30-second fight or 37-second fight. But I told my coach, mate, that I can feel there's something special coming, but I didn't know what it was. But the fact that we've been working on stand-up and we're working on my kicks, been stretching a lot, somehow I was able to pull out a knockout kick. And I believe it didn't happen by chance. It's something we've been practicing, which just happened to happen in 37 seconds.
Well, no one would have probably expected that. Everyone would have been expecting a completely different fight. As you said, you're a wrestler. That's your trade, but you've been working on other things as well, and surely the kick came through. The opponent didn't expect it at the very least. The champion, tell us about the champion. Who, for the audience out there, who's the champion? What's his name? And what do you think he will do when you eventually get in there?
Oh yes, the champion's name is Joshua Pasho. Very good fighter. He's one of the top fighters basically in my division. And he's very good, well-rounded. And for me, it's obviously as we speak now, I'm working a lot more on my stand-up. So I'm getting to balance my wrestling and my stand-up together. So I know by the time I get that opportunity to fight, I'll be already well prepared. I feel that I can even fight the champion tomorrow if they give me that opportunity to. So all I have to do right now is to be patient with the COVID happening around the world, especially in our country. It's so tough. We've got one of the hardest virus in the world. So I just have to be patient and wait till I get the fight and become the world champ.
And that's the goal. Everyone wants to become a world champion. You are literally right at the door of becoming, and you're knocking on it quite hard. With the performances that you're putting in. But I wanted to ask you, apart from world championships, dream fights. Have you thought about someone, maybe a different organization, somewhere else in the world that you thought that's the guy that you want to fight? Anyone?
Well, yeah, I do have a few dream fights, but I know the possible dream fight that I'll ask for is to fight Mighty Mouse. He's been one of the guys I looked up to as a fighter, and one of the guys that people compared me to coming up as a fighter. And I'd really like to fight him because he's basically one of the best. He's the GOAT, and the only way to see myself where I stand within the world of martial arts is to literally fight the best guy. So hopefully one day before he gets too old, I'll hope to get the chance to fight Mighty Mouse. Or if not, I also like to fight Don Dotson, a very explosive fighter in the UFC.
They're rivals.
So yes, they're both rivals, but I'd like to be one of the guys to actually give them a challenge and see myself against them one day.
How did you see Mighty Mouse's move from the UFC to the One Championship? Did that solidify the fact that you're in a major organization?
Oh yes, definitely. They've also now have guys like Sage Knockout, and they've moved Ben Askren to the UFC. So they play around with the fighters. It shows that it's two of the top promotions being able to swap the best fighters from one promotion to another. And it actually worked out perfect that he's in one championship, so that means I've got that it's closer for me to fight against him. But saying that, at the moment my focus is becoming the world champion and fighting the champion in my division before I get to Mountains.
And your record, I mean, you are undefeated as an amateur and you're undefeated as a pro. I mean, you've never actually tasted a loss. Is that because of your competitive spirits? What would you put that down to?
Yes, I'll say I'm very competitive when it comes to fight. Look, at training sometimes I'll get my backside kicked, but at training is where you learn and it's where you try to develop yourself. But when it comes to competition, my thing is to compete as hard as I can, to train, to fight the best I can, because if it happens that tomorrow something wrong happens with me, I can say, hey, my last fight, I did what I wanted to do in my life, and I fought it to the best abilities. And I think that's one of the reasons I'll say I haven't lost. And the fact that I believe I'm not scared to lose. So the fact that I'm not scared of losing, I go out there and I'm able to perform the way I want to perform and come up with the win on top of that. So I can say I'm blessed to be able to think like that and to be able to pull out performances like I always pull out in the fight. And weird enough, I don't mean to jump around and do or to boat, but it just comes out that I perform like that. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about celebrations. I've seen you do a lot of backflips in the gym as well, on video clips and so forth. Where did that all come from? The fact that you celebrate like that, and it's just come out in you.
Oh yeah, so I used to play around in the gym, do flips with the guys and everything. The guys at the gym were like, yeah, you must use that as your celebration, just do a backflip, people will like that. And I thought, I'm enjoying it, it's something I enjoy doing. I might as well use it after I fight and just throw a backflip and just show the people that I'm actually having fun doing what I love to do. So,
but where did you learn how to do that?
That was on the wrestling mat. I started wrestling when I was 8 years old, and since then I've been doing wrestling my entire life. But it's just been playing around with the other kids where after training we'll all try to do flips and stuff like that. And somehow I was able to pull it off, and since then I've been doing it since then basically. So yeah.
Where would you put yourself in terms of, okay, it's a difficult question to speaking about yourself, but in terms of the other wrestlers within the country, like where would you put yourself on that list?
Oh well, I believe I'm one of the top wrestlers in the country. With wrestling, my goal was also to become a world champion actually in wrestling. But I was training hard, I was putting time in, but it's very difficult to make a living out of wrestling. So I had to cut off the wrestling to join the MMA, which I still had the opportunity to make a living and to become a world champ. So I still believe I'm one of the best wrestlers in the country, and not saying it to put my head to put a big head on it.
Yeah.
It's just saying that I've heard people saying that I'm one of the best wrestlers, and I've heard people believing in my wrestling skills. And it still shows in MMA that I'm able to, whenever I'm in trouble trying to do stand-up or anything in MMA, I always fall back to my wrestling roots, and that still helps me to win my fights. And in one of my one championship fights, I actually fought one of the top wrestlers. Weird enough, I was able to use my wrestling to win against the wrestler, which actually helped.
So that helps a lot in your mindset as well, to legitimize how good wrestling is for you, and also in South Africa as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so between the three, you got decision, you got submission, and you got knockout. Which is your favorite out of the three?
To be honest, I'll say the knockout was my favorite so far. I've always been looking for a knockout from amateur fights, and Richie Kwan actually used to say, just be patient, you'll get your knockout, because I've always fought bigger guys where I was able to drop them, but I was never able to knock them out.
Yeah.
So I think it played a big role then, but now that I fight guys that are my size, I think there's a better chance now of knocking them out. And I was able to pull off one of my best performances so far with that knockout. So I'll say the knockout was definitely my favorite performance so far.
And I want to get into your mindset. Do you ever feel like, is losing even an option in your mind? I just want to say, like, because everyone approaches fights differently. In your mindset, do you even think about the possibilities that things might go wrong, or is it just focusing on the positives?
So the more you focus on the one side of the thing, that's the more you fall into it. So yes, losing just comes into my mind every now and then, but for me it's to focus more on the winning. And the more I focus on winning, the more I win. I've been focusing on becoming a world champion. I've been focusing on becoming in the highest level of MMA. And at the moment, I'm at the highest level of MMA. My next focus is to becoming a world champion within the organization. And that's what's happening. So losing does come every now and then. But the best thing to do is to just focus on the winning. Yeah, it just happens. And don't be scared to lose, but always focus on winning.
Do you have just waiting for the buzzer. Would you have a message for the champion or the promotion? Would you send them a message?
Oh yes, the champion, he better be training hard, because I'm definitely ready to become a world champ. It's something I've visualized my entire life, so I'm gonna give him a fight of his life, and there's a good chance that I become his first loss in one championship as a champion. So yeah, since he became champion, he's never lost. So I believe that I'm gonna be the first guy to actually beat him. And for the organization, yes, I think my plan is to become one of the greatest fighters out there. So the organization is gonna expect to see a lot of me, and maybe one day even have that matchup with Mighty Mouse. So
yeah, throw that in there.
Yes, thanks.
And then just lastly from yourself, do you have a thank you shout out for anybody in particular?
Oh yes, I'd actually like to thank my sponsors, Prometheus, for looking after me, giving me the best supplements and making sure I'm in shape for fights. And I'd like to thank Morne from IEP. He's been looking out for me since amateur, so big ups to them. And I'm right where I am because of him, because of all the helps. He's helped me through the training camps and everything. And I'd basically like to thank my coaches, Richie Kwan, Matt, and thank you for all the work, Prof. Basically my training partner, Wade, for putting in the work. I'm still looking for a fight, and I can imagine how frustrating it is, but for him to be at the gym every day and putting in the work, I'd like to thank him for that. Well, thank you. I'd like to thank you for the interview. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a good one.
Thank you very much. That's the Little Giants. Thank you.